Aye, Captain.
Aye. Am I recording?
I don't know. I hit my record. You hit
Backup
your record.
audio is
On. Backup audio on.
on.
I tried to do it for
Now,
you.
now he feels left out.
You all suck.
Oh, boy.
But here we are.
Here we are again.
All right, who's starting this episode? We gonna sit here and argue about it again?
Make Geoff do it.
Jeff did it.
I don't know how you're supposed to start an
Well,
episode.
we don't either.
You're qualified.
What's this
We trained
podcast
you.
even cost?
What's it cost? Yeah, see,
Speaking
now
of
we're
what-
getting sponsor out here.
Speaking of what it cost, can they see? Can the camera see that? Can they zoom in on it?
I can't zoom.
Why
Yeah.
can't you zoom?
Oh, God.
Just
I'll
tell
zoom.
them what it says.
Huh? Sponsors required for next episode.
So apparently, if we don't get a sponsor for next episode, we're down and out.
I agree.
So this all started because the motorsports guy over here rips the label off his bottle because they're not paying him to drink out of that bottle.
You pointed out that there was going to be an NCAA basketball arena worth of people watching this
Well,
episode,
that's-
and the company that makes this product is not paying me. So I will enjoy their product, and our audience will
I
have
see
to
he's
wonder
still
what
wearing
it
a
is.
Dirt Perfect sweatshirt then.
Yeah.
Well, I am wearing a Dirt Perfect sweatshirt because
Joke's on him. I ain't paying him either.
He doesn't enjoy you, though.
Yeah. He just needs me.
That's what you call pity.
Oh.
Textbook.
Well, I appreciate you making me feel better, Jeff. I do
Yeah.
appreciate that. So now you're
Season-
ripping your label off too?
Yeah.
Season 4, episode, we don't know.
Episode sponsors wanted.
there you go.
Episode, check the title. So, all right, we got some important stuff to get to in this podcast, so we can't get too far off track. We left you on the last podcast. We covered Jeff's
Life story.
Life story.
I was going to say history, life story, how he got into racing, how he got out of racing, how he got back into racing, how he contacted me, how he ended up at this table. Long story short, good episode. Check it out. It's check the title, one back from here.
Check the title -1.
Check the title -1.
Well, we think. Also,
Hopefully.
we left out how you're going to sell Lieutenant Dan to build the test
We
facility.
are
for him.
not. Jason.
It's a comment generator.
All right, so one thing we started touching on towards the end of the last episode is, other than racing, the one thing Jeff and I have worked on quite a bit together that's been near and dear to my heart for a long time. I just haven't had the time to put into it. I wanted to. Jeff's found a way to kind of tie this into his racing a little bit, and we've kind of committed to joining efforts on it a little bit. And the problem I'm talking about is not unique to you and I.
No.
It's not unique to our industry.
Nope.
It stretches far and wide outside of this. And it's basically the lack of people, I'm not even going to say skilled people, just the lack of bodies in the trades.
Yep.
So I'll let you take it away here a little bit, and then we'll kind of jump in and chime in as we go, because you've put more effort into a vision to actually attack this problem than anybody else.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, I think first of all, you don't have to look very far to acknowledge the problem, right?
Right.
Like you see help needed signs everywhere. Go talk to a business owner and you'll hear the same sob story. And so I was no different. I was complaining the same way that everybody else was about how hard it was to find people and no less good people. And it kind of, the light bulb went off, and we touched on it in the last episode, how kind of got to a point in my racing career where it was time to grow up and get a real job in order to be able to go racing the way that I wanted to go racing. And in order to stay in Indiana, it just kind of worked out that the construction industry was where we landed. And my wife, who is a very intelligent young woman and is very, very capable, I think is a great example of what happens to a lot of our best and brightest young people. They go to school, they probably don't know exactly what they want to do with their life yet, or life takes them a slightly different direction than they thought it would. But what they do leave school with, in addition to a degree, is a whole lot of debt following them around into a career that they really...
A whole lot of debt is a very nice way of saying a shitload of debt.
Yeah, I'm trying not to swear on this show.
This one don't matter.
This one don't matter. This one we're honest on. It's a shitload of debt.
Yeah, so so I just look at it, and I look at our little business and what I know, and I go, man, like I don't need you to know how to do this to hire you. What I need is I need somebody that shows up, that brings a good attitude, and that learns what we teach them and puts it into application. And
Showing up's the big thing.
Most of that in
Yeah.
itself is extremely difficult to find.
On time every day.
Well, so obviously we got a lack of these people, and I don't want to go too far back and beat a dead horse, but the first question is, how the hell did we get here?
that's a great question. And I think the answer to that is we spent the last 30 or 40 years as a country telling our best and brightest students that you have to go to
A
college,
4-year college.
a 4-year college.
I wouldn't say we spent that time telling them they had to. We scared them into it
Yeah,
because we convinced them if they didn't do that,
they'd be failures.
They'd
they'd be failures. And if they didn't go, it's because they weren't smart enough to.
Yeah.
So you took a job that didn't require it.
And then on the flip side of that coin is we were taking kids that were struggling in a traditional school environment, which doesn't necessarily mean they're not intelligent people, but we said, oh, you're struggling in a traditional school environment, why don't you go check out trade school? And so we've populated our industries, and I'll include any trade you want to mention here, with kids that struggled in a traditional academic setting, and then we've taken the kids that excelled in a traditional academic setting and we've saddled them up with debt so they don't have the options like I did to go start a business and say, you know, I might not take a paycheck for the next 2 months, but since I really don't have any bills besides keeping food on my table and a little bit of rent,
You have the
I
option.
can make that work. And so we've hamstrung our best and brightest,
Yep.
and we've populated our industries with those that struggled in the traditional academic environment. Again, I'm not saying that if you struggle in a traditional academic environment, you're not an intelligent person. I'm just saying that
You were forced down a road you didn't choose.
right. So we don't have people that are passionate about doing this. We don't have, and the reality is, I was right there, same one. In high school, and ultimately the reason I went to college the first time was because my parents said, if you want to keep racing, you have to. I wanted to get out of high school and move to Indiana to be a race car driver, and it was like, wait a minute, how are you going to do that? It was like, well, I'm going to take our truck and our trailer and the race car, and I'm going to go to Indiana. And it was like, no, you're not. And so if you would have asked me at that point if I thought that I would be a heavy equipment operator / plumber for a living, I'd have said, no,
Right.
that's not for me. Even though it fit my interests, even though honestly they're tough problems to solve on the job site.
Yeah.
You've got to be creative and think outside the box, and in many cases figure out how to make a round pegs fit in a square hole, because you don't
That's
always have
literally what you do.
you don't always have all the resources you need to do it the way that you'd want to do it, and you got to find a way to get the job done. Otherwise, you don't get paid.
Yeah.
And so I stepped back and I thought, first of all, that's a lie, because if I look at my own life, I raced, which gave me some skills as far as like working on things and understanding precision and, measuring, and a lot of the things that serve me in the trades, you develop to a very, very high level in a motorsports environment. And like the type of quality of work that you do compared to most is going to be a lot nicer. But at the end of the day, like I came into this industry and it took about the same amount of time as it took me to get through college to get to a place where I could go and chase my dream again. And I thought,
One huge difference, basically you're saying you got on-the-job experience, but you were getting paid to gain that experience, not paying to get education.
well, which is no different than if you go to work in the trades.
Right, exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
if I had a kid straight out of high school come and say, hey, you know what, I'm not really sure what I want to do with my life. I've always liked working with my hands, and I think machines look cool. I need a job while I figure out what I'm going to do. I would almost bet money that there's no way that kid ever decides to go back and go to school. Because we're going to teach him enough of what he needs to do. I think in the same 4 or 5 years that he would go to school or she would go to school, I mean, that's a whole other conversation we can have on this. They would learn enough that they could go start their own business. And frankly, you know, that's you talk to contractors out there and they'll all tell you the same thing, which is, well, you can't find any good people. And if you do find a good person, you're bidding against them in 2 or 3 years because they go start something on their own.
Yeah, I don't want. I don't mean to cut you off there, but I'm just going back to like, how did we get here? And I'm gonna go all the way back, which this one frustrates me a little bit, and I know I'm going way off track here of how we don't study history. Because if you go back to the Industrial Revolution, when this country was at its peak, 2/3 of the people that drove that Industrial Revolution were not college educated. They were not engineers on paper. They were just figure it out, get it done based on experience, so on and so forth.
So, Grandpa dropped out of school in 8th grade.
Yeah.
And he'd hold a candle to anybody doing anything.
Yes, I mean, just, you know, they didn't need a piece of paper to establish their dominance on a chain of command. It was all based off your skills. Mm-hmm. So then you fast forward to the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and that transformed into, we don't care what your experience is, we care what your education is. And that has landed us in the hole we are now. And we got all these super educated people with a whole bunch of debt and no jobs.
We got a generation of kids that know how to design a bridge, but nobody who knows how to actually build it and make a bridge.
Right, right. So we went from the exact opposite of the Industrial Revolution. Mm-hmm. Is that I guess that's
the Industrial Revolution, you had a generation of people who knew how to build a solution that worked,
right,
but probably couldn't tell you what the math was to know that it was good. I'm not going to sit here and say we should make that complete flop, because there was a lot of probably
that's
things.
The rest of my story is how do we go back in the middle? And there's always been this disconnect of college educated looking down on the trades guy doing the work, or the trades guy looking up to this guy. How can we get here? You know what I mean? How can we get on the same damn?
I think it's going to happen whether people like it or not, and they may never stop looking down at us, but the reality is they're going to be looking down this way and not realizing that you're looking right down on top of them going, yeah, I'm going to need paid for that job I just did for you.
Yeah. And this goes back to a conversation I had with my principal in high school. He said, Mike, you're a smart guy. You need to go to college. I'm like, no. I said, I don't care how smart I am or how smart you are. Both of us are going to need our toilet fixed and our roof replaced one day. And if you keep driving people to doing what you're asking, you're going to have nobody to call. Mm-hmm. And then if I am that one guy you call, I can name my price.
Yeah, you'll never.
Which is exactly what you just said.
Yep. Well, that's part of how you have a small excavating company and get to go race cars again. Like, we're not the cheapest outfit in town.
Right.
We're not the cheapest outfit in town by the long shot. Now, I think that we're a good value because we're going to do top quality work. We're going to do it when we say we're going to do it. We're going to do everything we can to make that job as smooth and easy for you as possible. So there is value there. But I think that, and what we're trying to do with this program is take things that you can't argue with as a human being to sit there and say, okay, they're telling me that I got to go to college or I'm going to be a failure. And I'm telling you, if you can go to college without coming out under a mountain of debt and know what you want to study while you're there so that what you pick up, because college is really just a couple tools for your tool belt. Right. But the rest of your tool belt gets filled out with on-the-job experience. I don't care what industry you're in or what you do.
And it's also refreshing to see employers starting putting more weight in experience versus education.
And so I want to go out and be able to show these kids that this is where I went to be able to chase my dreams. And I'm lucky to have a platform because what I like to do happens to be something that people want to go buy a ticket and watch us do. And it also happens to be something that has a little bit of glitz and glamour to it on the surface. You know, hey, it's fast cars, it's loud, it's cool.
If it's got a motor, people's going to watch it.
Right. So the fact that I'm able to go do that is proof that there's opportunity in the industry that I chose. And that's what we're here to do, is to show people that there is opportunity in the trades. And the hope is, I don't think we're going to change our nation. I don't think we're going to change the world with this, but we're a small excavating company. 4 to 7 people, depending when you catch us. And I can drive around the city of Indianapolis, which is what, the 12th or 13th largest city in the country, I think. I don't remember.
I don't even know. It's
a decent sized town.
It's a nice town.
And we've only been doing this for, I guess, 7 or 8 years now, maybe 8 or 9 that we've been digging at all. I don't even know. I'd have to think about it for a minute. Yeah, I guess it'd be 8 years. And there's not very many places I can drive in Indianapolis that I can't point to a job we did. And so I go, you know what? I only have to really change the minds of a few people, and 8 or 9 years later, you're going to be able to drive around that community, and you might not be able to see it the way that they would be able to see it, but there's going to be a lot of things in that community that have been done that have their fingerprints on it because they chose that career path. And in the case of what we do, those things that happen because you had your fingers on it, like the toilet flushes, running water turns on, you don't have puddles in your backyard.
Your house don't flood no more?
Your house doesn't flood anymore. I mean, like, these are things that are taken mostly for granted until you don't have them. And that's just what...
I mean, you can keep on going down. I mean, your lights stay on. You look at trade workers like Aaron. You know, and I'm even going to put factory workers into our category because there is a lot of really damn good factory jobs which manufacture pretty much everything in your home from time to time. Highways, infrastructure, bridges.
Well, there you make bring up a great point. What did we learn? What did we learn down at Connex? We learned that in the next 10 years, as a percentage of GDP, the United States government is going to spend more on infrastructure than they have spent since the building of the interstate highways. And in that same period, the contractors that would typically take that federal work are going to see a 46% reduction in their workforce due to retirement, and there's no real plan to replace them.
Yeah.
So what's that tell you?
That
tells you there's a lot of work, and there's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And if you can do that work, you can go get a piece of that action, but there is not a whole lot of people ready to fill that gap.
Yeah.
Well, is it fair to talk about like the well, how do I want to say this? Not the stipulations, but the stigma of a job that's in the trades or a factory that are just not true?
Yeah, I mean, I think the stigma's there for sure. But if I think about it, I don't care.
Yeah.
My dad wears a suit and tie to work, and I wear jeans and a hoodie and work boots. So I know he doesn't look down on me, but if another guy like him happens to be driving to work in his nice car and pulls up next to me at a stoplight in my dually and looks over and thinks less of me, I don't really care, because I'm going to catch up with that guy somewhere down the road when he has a problem. And he's going to need to drive that nice car in his suit and tie to work for quite a while to pay me, because I'm all he's got.
Yeah.
So if you want to look down your nose at me, you go ahead and look down your nose at me, and I'll go do what I love to do.
I think the other one is too, just because that guy's got a suit and tie on, don't mean he makes more money at the end of the day either.
No.
It also don't mean he lives a better life. It also means he's not happier than you.
I mean, I can tell you, if I was wearing a suit and tie and going to work doing what my dad does, I guarantee you I would have a less fulfilled life. I would be more stressed out, and I would be doing less of what I like to do in life. So
to bring this full circle is this whole society is about being fair. So to be fair to people, we should drive them to what makes them happy, not what we think should be best for them. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I think before we go too deep into this, it's important to mention, just going by some of the previous episodes of Read the Title Here, that we have talked about.
It's going to be the title of our podcast.
Yeah.
We're going to change it.
Check the title. Just looking at comments, we get a lot. A lot of people seem to get put off by this conversation for whatever reason, but what they say is, well, there's jobs out there that you need to go to college for, and you can't look down on people for going to college, and we don't.
Nope.
All that we're saying here is that we believe that the trades should get a fair shake to going to college in terms of what the education K through 12 is pushing or funneling to.
The other thing is, if I'm asking them not to look down on me for not going to college, that's just because I didn't go to college don't mean we still can't get back to that being equals.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what we're pushing.
You know
for
what I
here,
mean?
more or
I could
less.
be just as productive a member of society as you,
Yeah.
just in a different way, which is fine because if we all wanted the same thing, that wouldn't make us what we are today.
Yeah, you
Right.
would, the world would not turn if we all did the same thing.
Right.
See, I tried the 4-year college and then went 1 year. Decided that wasn't my path. So took off
Yeah.
into the trade path. And
I do believe I had some meetings at a local school up here, and I think there are. I'm not going to go into that.
Did you tell him that story though?
I think so. Yeah, I told him that story.
Yeah.
But there are efforts being made to change the perception of that
with the career path type thing.
with the career path type stuff. But the people that are making those decisions to change that are only doing it because they have to say certain things to keep their funding. Like their heart and soul, and they ain't doing it for the right damn reasons is what really aggravates me.
Right.
But I can't complain because there is progress being made. So somebody's forcing
You know, when I
somebody's
was in
hand to-
school, everybody had to go for that core 40. Everybody was on the same
God.
playing field.
I got core 40 and shit.
Now-
Somebody's ass.
Everybody gets. It seems like I'm like Mike. It seems like they're trying to make career paths.
I ain't got nobody called to fix their toilet no more.
Yeah,
So they're doing it out of necessity.
yeah.
Well,
The other thing I think that we've learned in the last year is that the school system is forcing kids into a career path pretty young.
yes.
I mean, I'm 40, and when I was in high school, we didn't still have like auto shop and a couple of those types of classes. But I don't think there's any sort of shop class, woodworking class, anything like that left in the high school setting that I'm aware of outside of special cases. I know there are some schools that do have trade programs, but in general, we've kind of pushed most of that out of high school in favor of things that we viewed for college prep. And then, you know, we learned, we partnered with SkillsUSA.
Yeah, I guess, you know, at some point here, we need to transition a little bit because all we've done is talk negative about a lot of things. But my point was to try to identify the problem we're talking about.
Yeah.
That was my purpose of that conversation. So we can't sit here and talk about a problem without a solution or what efforts we're going to put into trying to fix that problem, which is one of the things I think all of us sitting at this table are pretty damn passionate about. We're just limited on what we can do. And Geoff is kind of, at least on my behalf, is finally kind of taking the first initiatives to making a real. I'm almost ashamed of myself at some points because I got the platform I do and haven't done more to promote the trades. So,
Well, I'm glad you shamed yourself into having to come on board our program.
no, it's the exact opposite. I'm glad that you're taking the initiative and I get to be part of it because obviously I haven't been able to do it on my own.
That's kind of where I was at, was like, what am I gonna do with this? And like, what is the why? Like, I've raced a lot and everything else, and I love to do it, which is great. But like, I have this platform, and there's got to be something I do with it. And I thought, man, the biggest barrier to getting to go do more racing in my unsponsored state was the ability to generate more money. And the biggest thing that stood between me and making more money wasn't the ability to acquire equipment, wasn't the ability to acquire more work. It was the ability to get that work done. And so I just thought, man, you know, like, we got to try to take this story to the young people, and hopefully it inspires a few of them. And like I said, I don't think we're going to change the world, but I think that if we can change a few people's lives, like, we will make a noticeable difference in some communities, and things will.
If we can change the life of one person to make a difference, this is all worth it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be the snowball effect because, you know, the whole pay it forward thing. Mm-hmm. You get his story out here, then that guy gets his story out there. And this is not going to be, we didn't get in this position overnight. We're not going to get out of it overnight.
So, can you elaborate what SkillsUSA is? Or?
Yeah, so I think that's a good opportunity to transition. So I found myself sitting there going, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to try to use my platform to promote the opportunities that I found in the trades so that somebody else might, but how? And the first thing I did was jumped on Google and was like, somebody's got to be working on this already. Let's see what else is out there. And found SkillsUSA, 401c3 nonprofit, headquartered in Washington, D.C. They have chapters in all 50 states. And I reached out to them, told the national office what I was trying to do. And they said, well, hey, let us get you connected with your local Indiana chapter. And so I reached out to Kelly Baker, who is our Indiana chapter president, and told her what we were trying to do. And she thought it was pretty cool. And incidentally, her son is starting his career as a race mechanic. So
Really?
the idea of being involved in motorsports wasn't completely lost on her, since that's what her son was going to do. And so, that was kind of something that I felt like gave us a little bit of legitimacy in our effort. And mostly I was thinking, how am I going to get in front of some kids? Because I doubt if I just call a high school or a middle school up and say, hey, I want to come talk to your students. Can I come? They're probably not going to be very receptive. So I was trying to network our way into having some connections so that we could get our message out. And we learned a lot the first year being involved with them. Obviously, as a race team, who is now building a partner base to go undertake this mission, our model is all of our partners are probably going to either be a business that needs more people, that is in some sort of trade, a business that sells to businesses that need more people that are in the trade, or C, all of the above.
Well, I think that's the big thing. I think even no matter what you do for a living, people in the trades or in the factories make that you're still dependent on them, whether you realize that you are or not.
And so we, first thing we did last spring is currently I hold the title sponsorship or title partnership of our program because Lamb Excavating is my company and I'm spending as a percentage of the budget the majority. So that's why we're black and yellow, and the Lamb logo's bigger on the car than everybody else's. Hopefully someday somebody will see us build enough value into our program that they can take kind of that main spotlight role. But we take our partners' trade career path interests and we try to help them solve their personnel problems. So for Lamb Excavating, we were looking to find some young people that had a start on some training. And so Jason, you might actually, this is a good point to bring up because you're a SkillsUSA national gold medalist, as well as a state winner. And
Actually, I started thinking as you were talking more into this, I do know a little bit more even than that. And I think the first episode, we started to get into my story a little bit.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I was involved with SkillsUSA. It was called VICA at the time.
yeah, it was DECA right before it was Skills for Us. So I went to a tech school for high school, and our tech school for high school was a little bit different. I touched on this recently. We had academics and our shop classes under the same roof. It was a 4-year program. You spent 6 days on your academic cycle, and then you spent 6 days on your technical shop of choice or whatever. In 9th grade, though, you had to go through what was called the exploratory program, which meant that every 9th grader had to go through every single tech shop for 2 days. So you got to experience every possibility that this school had to offer. You then had to draft a cover letter and a resume. You had to apply to 3 different shops, and you had to basically go on an interview to try to get a job into the shop that you wanted for the next 3 years while you were here. So I chose, it was called Outdoor Power Equipment, but it was primarily motorcycle repair. As my shop, I applied to it, I got in. My shop teacher was phenomenal. He has a race team of his own. He does drag racing for motorcycles, him and his brother. And a little bit of that is like when he saw the students that actually were interested in this, and at the time I was racing four-wheelers, so this is why I went into this class. Spoiler alert, I wanted to work on my quad at work or at school.
Racers and their ulterior motives.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, lots of them.
Oh, I know. It's funny listening to your story about how much we're similar. You know, I went through this class. I learned a lot, especially when we started talking about performance. My senior graduation project, I put a 600 twin motorcycle engine in a golf cart. My 11th grade project was tuning my dirt bike on a dyno. A lot of things like that. One day I went in senior year, and my teacher was like, hey, I signed you up for SkillsUSA. And up to this point, SkillsUSA was pitched to the students in this school, and I think this is a huge flaw on the school's part. As you sign up for SkillsUSA, it's $25 a year, or for the year, and we're going to take you on SkillsUSA field trips. We go to Dorney Park, we go to Six Flags, we go to Blue Mountain, and that's all they said. So I'm looking at my teacher like, why'd you do that? I don't go on field trips. Like, why? And he goes, well, dummy, it's actually a competition in the trades, and you can win a lot of stuff. What? So for us, there was no local competition. There's just no other tech school that offered motorcycle repair in our district. So I was already a guaranteed finalist. So I went to the States. So when I went to States, I went to Hershey, Pennsylvania. I competed against, I think, 50 other schools or students. And I won gold there. This was something that was put on by Harley Davidson and Yamaha that year. So we did a bunch of different exercises going through. I remember we had to true a wheel. We had to completely disassemble forks, revalve them, put them back together. A couple other things with wiring. And I forget the rest of them. But we went through this program. I won gold. When I won gold at the state level, and I don't know if I was telling you this earlier or not, when I won gold at the state level, that's when I got, I think, a $1,000 gift card from Carhartt. I got, it's like $700 worth of Irwin tools. I think I got $2,500 in Snap-on tools then. And I got a scholarship to a local Votech. That was not a full ride. And I was like, oh, all right, this is cool. Now I'm getting stuff. I like this. So then I went on to Nationals, which was in Kansas City, Missouri in 2009. My teacher was unable to go, unfortunately for me. Fortunately for him, his daughter was getting married. So my parents actually got to go in his place. So we flew out, Kansas City, I competed there. Same thing, it was sponsored by Harley and Yamaha. There was a lot more people competing. There's a lot more challenges. There's a lot more focus on wiring harness, or wiring, ECMs, and they had a Harley head you had to take apart. So I went through this. I won that. And that's where I really made out. I got a full scholarship to University Technical Institute. I got thousands of dollars in Snap-on tools and a toolbox. I got 3 or 4 other scholarships that were not full rides. They're all different Votechs, highly respected Votechs. We got more order run tools. We got a gift card to Lowe's for a couple $1,000s. Like, we got a lot of stuff, is what I'm trying to say. And these are all industry partners. But basically, through doing this, I was able to go to UTI for free, which everybody can say what they want about Votech schools. To me, they're all phenomenal to go to if you are willing to put the effort in to take something out of it. And that's where I decided to become a diesel mechanic. So I took their diesel program. They let me take everything that they offered. There was no cap, really, on the scholarship.
Really?
Yeah, so I went through, took automotive, Toyota, and diesel technology. I ended up dropping Toyota because I had a few job offers. So I took automotive and diesel mechanics. Came out of UTI with multiple job offers. Ultimately started working at one place and then got into the job that I'm at now, which I don't mention on social media, but it's in the transportation industry, very, very large company with phenomenal benefits, a great pension, and I make a lot more money than most of the kids that I went to high school with, of any career path that they went on. So SkillsUSA has been great for me. Another thing that I do though is I sit on the occupational board for my tech school. So basically, because I'm still in the industry, I provide guidance to my old shop teacher and the other people in the transportation of what the industry is doing now, how they should be adjusting their curriculum to train up the new kids to get in. And I think one of the most depressing things that comes out of that is just talking to my teacher about how many students he doesn't get. I mean, we had 18 go through the program when I was in. He's got 4 now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it's really a shame. It's something that, another fact about this that kind of popped in my head now is like, you met my friend Brandon. I have a really good friend back at home. He went through the same shop class and everything. Well, his daughter is now high school age. And she tried to get into the tech school because she wanted to go through the trades as well. Well, the way that this tech school works is it's for the county. So all of the high schools funnel into this. So they can't take everybody. And they've come down to a lottery now. That's the most fair way. If your number's picked, you can come in. And she didn't make it, which is, really a shame. Because if she was going to just her traditional high school, she would have never been turned. Like, she didn't get. That's where she's going now.
No.
There's no barrier for entry to where she's going now. But because she wanted to go here and a bunch of other kids wanted to go here, she didn't get an opportunity to. I really need to figure out how to get more trade schools, in front of people. I think.
Yeah, we have a lack of people with the knowledge that can be gotten at that school.
Yeah.
And yet that school's operating at capacity, but we don't have enough people.
No.
So we got involved with SkillsUSA, and I think you just gave that organization really a resounding endorsement as far as the program works.
Yeah.
And because Lamb Excavating was our primary partner, and thanks to Mike over here, we got hooked up with Diamond Equipment out of Evansville. Operations in Terre Haute, Evansville, Bowling Green, Kentucky, Nashville, Tennessee, and Mount Vernon, Illinois.
Yeah, just to be fair to Diamond Equipment, they have been involved with the Dirt Perfect channel, but they're not really ever called by name.
Oh.
Well, not out of anything. I mean, I wish I had more opportunities to give them, but it's hard to go to a dealership and film.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I've referenced them as my dealer for Case and Hyundai, and I talked about them honestly as they've been one of the best dealers I've worked with. They're truly a family operation still. I always say that to say some people listening may not be familiar with that name, even though it is heavily entrenched with what I do.
Yeah, so through Dirt Perfect helped get us hooked up with Diamond, and Diamond was excited about what we were trying to do.
Diamond was facing the same problems we are.
And thank you.
The Diamond Equipment's now now recognized.
There you go, Bob. But anyway, so we're getting ready for the state competition, and I talked to the Indiana State Director and Kelly and said, hey, do you have any kids coming for heavy equipment? And she said, yeah, we're going to have heavy equipment. I said, okay, cool. I said, I want to see everything that these kids are going to do. I want to see the exercises. I want to know what the test questions are, what's all of it. And she has a tough job. She's, I believe, the only full-time employee, and she's got a couple other volunteers that work around her, and they service like 95 career paths.
Yeah, I was going to say, because it's just not heavy equipment operator. There's machining, there's welding, there's plumbing, there's electrical, there's carpentry,
emergency services, hair stuff. I mean, it's a very wide breadth that SkillsUSA
So we're talking about just a small little corner of it.
And honestly, the heavy equipment competition, if you look at it, is probably one of the more logistically challenging ones to put on, period, because of the size of everything. And she said, Geoff, we don't really have, I'm not sure what they're going to do. Like, maybe their teacher's got something sorted out. And so I called him up, and he's like, I'm not supposed to be the one running the competition. And so I called Bob at Diamond Equipment and said, hey, Bob, and it was pretty short notice at this point. I think it was only like when was Connex? March,
yeah.
late March.
Yeah, mid-March.
Yeah, mid-March, and the Indiana State competition was in late April, or mid-April, mid to late April. So it wasn't a real long time. And said, hey, Bob, like, here's the deal. We got this competition. I know we got kids coming. I don't know exactly how many there are, but I know we do have kids coming for heavy equipment. Can you help us make sure that they've got a competition to take place in when they get here? And to be fair, it was in kind of a demo exhibition category, but it was going to qualify somebody to go to nationals just like you did, Jason. So like, it was a legit deal.
Yeah.
And so Bob brought a brand new case skid steer up and wrote up some exercises and a scoring system for the skid steer exercises. We talked to their instructor. They had a simulator that they could pack up and bring, so we were able to do a couple of trenching exercises on the simulator. Then I wrote a 100-question exam, basically just stuff that I would be super excited if an incoming employee knew coming to our company.
Some basic excavating stuff and some basic safety stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it was safety heavy because we never want to get somebody hurt. We all want to go home to whatever else we're going home to. It was a little bit of like maintenance and are you going to be able to be sensible enough to take care of my equipment? There was, you know, a little bit of just things you would hope somebody would know as far as like locates and inspection, like order of operations type of things. So we threw all this together and we got moved in at the fairgrounds, and 1,200 students and teachers for the state competition, which represented the top finishers in all the regions in the state. And for Lamb Excavating specific interest here, we had 4 kids. And initially I was really disappointed, like, man, like that's a bummer. But then I kind of thought about it a little more and was like, well, no, that's exactly why we need to be doing what we're doing.
Right. Proves there's a need.
And so we went through the competition, and those 4 kids were awesome. I mean, I was very, very impressed with what those young men were able to do. And I'll be honest, I tried to hire 3 of them. The problem is they were all from down this direction. I believe it's Southeastern Tech.
Yeah, Southern Indiana Tech.
Yes. I know they're not far from French Lick, so
Really?
whatever's down around here.
You just expanded their perfect operation.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a little bit east, but anyway, they were not from.
They had to be over by Vincennes.
Yeah.
They were not from our local market,
Yeah.
and I can't blame any of the kids for
Right,
not wanting to
yeah.
move.
You know, unfortunately, I was scheduled to come to that with you, and I don't remember. Well, I was not there. I don't remember why.
I don't know, Mike. Why weren't you there?
I honestly don't remember.
What'd you put in
So it
field
wasn't a
trial?
very good reason, is what you're saying.
No, it was a good reason. Was I out of town?
I don't know, Mike. Where were you?
I feel like I'm going to get myself backed into a corner here.
Yeah. What were you doing in April?
Where was I at in April? The farmer Chris had me in the field.
I'd say putting in field trial.
Breaking the 850?
No, I had a legitimate reason because I was pretty bummed I couldn't go. I remember being disappointed.
I think you were out of town somewhere.
I think I was on a trip
Was it one
somewhere.
of the times you had to go to Volvo?
Yeah. No,
Hmm.
I could have been. Which Volvo's a very big supporter of SkillsUSA. They're actually
are.
the national
They're a
sponsor
national,
Are
they're
they
a
now?
national
now.
partner.
Yeah.
Good.
But anyways, whatever the reason was, which I know is legit, I couldn't make it, but I remember Geoff being somewhat disappointed by the amount of kids that showed up. Also remember him being encouraged of the skill level of the kids that did show up. The thing that stood out to me that I remember you being the most encouraged about is the crowd you drew and the interest you got of the other kids from the other
Events.
events there.
So that was one thing that we really wanted to have a piece of equipment in there. We brought the race car down, and I wanted to draw attention to the heavy equipment trade, knowing that within the trades people move around.
Right.
And many of the skills are interchangeable. You know, what I learned when we were remodeling in the very beginning helped me to be a better excavating contractor, and frankly, I laugh sometimes when I go back and do something a little more remodeling related and go, wow, I'm a lot better at this than when we quit. And I can only attribute that to what I've been doing for the last 8 years. So, so that was kind of our shtick last year, and where we dipped our toe in the water. And one thing that we learned, especially through our Indiana State Director and some of her knowledge of how things go, is that kids are being pushed into career paths in high school fairly early, mostly geared toward where you're going to go to college. And so for this year, one of our big pushes is to step that back a notch and really get with the 7th, 9th graders. We're going to work with career technical education schools in different markets because they have middle school kids coming through to kind of see what it's all about, and hopefully have the opportunity to come in and meet with those kids and talk about the opportunities I found.
Yeah, that kind of resonates with me a little bit because it was a little bit later for me as my freshman year of high school, but I was being pushed hard to go to a 4-year college. And I was desperate to find a way out, because I knew I didn't want to do that. I knew it wasn't going to benefit me, and I knew I wasn't going to be happy doing it. And the actual somewhat local Lincoln Technical Institute sent a representative down to talk to one of our classes and presented, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe I can compromise here. This is an 18-month program. I can muster through that. It's something I truly enjoy. It'll satisfy them saying I went to college, I'm air quoting here,
Yeah.
and I can get out of here with the least amount of damage and the least amount of wasted time and move on. So whenever Geoff says, one of the things we can do is try to get in front of these kids and let them know that there's viable options. Me back as a 7th or 8th grader, knowing I had that to possibly look forward to would have meant the damn world to me, to be honest with you.
To that point as well, you did learn something that you can fall back on had you ever needed to.
At Lincoln Tech?
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but absolutely not.
Well, I did, at least I can say, going through UTI. I walked away with every ASC certification that you could get.
What's it done for you, though? We ain't gonna argue that. We'll move on.
Well, no, you're right. However,
I did too.
However, if I lost my job tomorrow and I needed to put food on the table, I go to any repair or any automotive shop at this point, and at least I can say that I have them, because I still have them. I think. Do they expire?
Yeah, I still got mine. They're hanging up here on the wall.
Yeah.
Yes, they do expire, but this goes back to me being as a person that hires. I could give 2 shits less about that. I want to know what you worked on lately.
Well, I guess I would have that too then.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I'm more interested about what you've done in the last 4 or 5 years than what you did in school X amount of years ago.
All right, so how about this one then? You got to pretend that you own an automotive shop at this point.
I ran one straight out of college. So.
Okay, so you need a guy. Well, I can come in and I have my EPA certification for refrigerant. So now you can, and I know this because my current employer actually is something I need to check with. You can now buy larger quantities of refrigerant for your business under my license. So yeah, it's not much, but I'm saying it's something I got out of it.
You're still worthless if you don't show up, though.
I'm gonna show up.
But
It's a pointless conversation.
yeah. So no, hold on. No,
own a repair center.
where are you going? Where are you going? So here's
My
one
point-
argument that falls into this.
Yeah.
You show up, you're a perfect student, you went to this class, you got this EPA thing, and I look at your employment history and you've worked at 7 places in the last 3 months. I get this guy walks in off the street, as hungry as can be, and I know I can spend 6 weeks getting him that certification, he's gonna show up every damn day, I'm going with that guy every day.
I agree with that, but you're pinning it onto me that I've had 7 different jobs in the last year.
I think I'm saying is just because, and I'm all for.
I think overall, I'll
think we're arguing the same
pull
point.
both of your thing in.
Yeah.
I can't say that because you went to trade school or didn't go to trade school if you're a good employee or not. There's good employees and bad employees.
Yeah.
But what I can definitely tell you is if we get more people to get some skills, whether it's at trade school or whether it's on the job, there's a bigger pool to draw from.
Yeah.
So I got a better opportunity as an employer to say, this guy is a good guy and I want him.
And I fully understand my trade school experience is my trade school experience, and that's not everybody's trade school experience. I get that 100%, and I got my reasonings, and we can have a whole other podcast about that if we want to. But
surprises some people on me is between high school and my full-time farming career, I've held 7 or 8 jobs, high-paying jobs, successful jobs. I've never filled out an application. I've never filled out a resume. I could not tell you how to fill out a resume. Never done a resume. I like your work ethics. I know who you are. You got a good attitude. You got a job. Let's go.
the point I was trying to make, Jason, and I'm not discrediting your education.
No.
Because I'm not. I promise I'm not discrediting. But if I was to hire you, your education is not going to change where you're at my list.
No, and I get that.
Yeah.
That's the point. Maybe I wasn't articulating very well.
Yeah. And I think what I'm also saying is that I learned a couple skills along the way that aren't what I do now that I can fall back on.
Yeah.
It gives me the person
Yeah.
more options of fields that I can go into.
And see, I'm kind of the opposite way. I learned a lot more skills after school that I can fall back on than what I did during school. So that may be what it was. But
I learned a lot of skills after school as well, but I can't discredit UTI for what I learned from
yeah. And I didn't go to UTI to be fully
and
fair.
I'm not saying that anybody who goes there now is going to have the same experience.
But back to Jeff's
So one of the
point,
things
back
that
to Jeff's point,
we're
it don't
really
matter.
hoping with these younger kids
They
is
get-
that there are some opportunities available to kids while they're in high school that, well, you don't live in the state of Indiana, but the 3 of us pay for
Right.
because we pay our taxes, which is what gives the schools their money.
Yeah.
And these kids, for example, if you wanted to be a heavy equipment operator and you're going into high school and you walk into your guidance counselor and you say, I want to be a heavy equipment operator when I get out of high school, well, sign me up for that class. And they go, well, we don't offer that class. You go, okay, cool. Well, this trade school does offer a class. They are supposed to pay for a certain amount of sending you someplace
There is
to go
money
learn
out there to get you
the
through that
trade.
class.
Yes.
Really.
And so, and then this is I got to be careful probably how much I say, just because somebody will jump in the comments that knows an example different. So I'm taking this from one of the teachers that was at the state championship last year telling us this is how it is. It comes out of the school's budget. Like, they got to pay for it. And so the difference between sending a kid for his semester-long heavy equipment course and sending an application into a state college is that sending the application into the state college doesn't take anything out of their budget, but it's $3,500 for a kid to take his course for the semester, and the kid doesn't have to pay for it. The school has to pay for it, and so he thinks that's where some of the if they're not actually dissuading kids from taking advantage of it, that's why it's not being pushed, is because that comes out of the budget and otherwise it doesn't.
Does
So
the CTE building make more sense now?
I did
So
not know that.
we are hoping with some of these younger kids to find a kid like myself that's like, hey, I made my mom drive me around a job site so I could watch them work. When we moved into a neighborhood that was under construction, like, I would go sit and watch them dig foundations or put in sewer and water or whatever because I thought it was cool. But if you would have asked me, I probably wasn't still doing that stuff in high school, but if you would have asked me in high school, like, do you think heavy equipment and construction is cool? I'd have still been like, yeah, that stuff's cool. And they'd be like, well, you think you want to do that for a living? No, it's not for me. And so I'm hoping to find a kid like myself that would say, hey, that's probably not for me, but I like it, to be able to go, wait a minute, while I'm in high school, I could go get exposed to some of this and I could kind of explore it, because I don't want to talk anybody into doing something that they don't want to do.
Right.
Like, my goal is not, and I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, if you go into the trades, you're going to be able to own your own race team in 6 years. The trades offered me that opportunity, but it was really building the business that opened the door to that level.
Well, the flip side of that is that time in your life 8th grade to graduation is where you have the opportunity to figure out what you want to do.
Isn't that supposed to be what you're doing then?
Yeah, so yeah, exactly. So that, what better time to get a summer job or an afternoon job working in that industry and find out if it is for you or not.
Absolutely.
If it's not, you know it's not, and find out what is.
Find out what is. And so that's really our hope, is to help some young people that have the right set of interests to make a career in one of our trades that we champion, because we've kind of boiled it down to like 5 categories of trades that we feel like we can speak most authentically about and that our partners ultimately want us to solve problems for. So lamb excavating, heavy equipment operator. Diamond Equipment wants stuff across the board, but they're specifically looking automotive and diesel tech most aggressively to fill their shops. Lamb excavating, Diamond Equipment. Several of us have identified that we need more commercial drivers. So we got heavy equipment operation, automotive diesel tech, commercial drivers, precision and CNC machining, welding and fabrication. So that's kind of our group of trades that we want to champion and, you know, carry partnerships that we can ultimately help kids to find ways to explore those careers where they're interested, and then ultimately be involved with the kids that are in the trade schools, whether it's during high school or after high school, and help our partners get their messaging to those kids, whether it's I have a job for you, or I have a service that, you know, or an online community that we want you to join that will help you with your career. Whatever it is, that we get that messaging to those kids, or, you know, young adults if it's after high school.
The second part of that is once you identify some kids that are showing interest, is help them continue to pursue the path.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's as important as anything, and keep them from getting derailed by other shinier, bigger numbers somewhere else.
To be encouraging, you know, to come alongside them and say, hey, like, what you're doing is good. You are gonna make a difference in your community, and I mean, I don't want to start throwing stones in a glass house here, but, you know, I go back and think about when I was finishing my college degree, which I did. I finished an accounting and finance degree at IUPUI. And I know what some of my friends in school went on to do, working at finance departments and car lots and things like that. And, you know, I went a completely different way. But as far as like helping people to have a good day-to-day life, like, I'll put what we've done up against what any of the ones that wear a suit and tie to work, as far as, you know, the number of lives that we kind of help. And I'm not saying that we do more than they do, but I'm saying that
We equally contribute
to society. And, you know, I'm a little bit probably not a neutral source. Like, they make sure that
I'm definitely a neutral source.
They make sure that you've got a car to drive and a payment that you may or may not be able to afford, and, like, I make sure you're not living in your own filth.
You're welcome.
Well, since you put it that way, Jeff.
Well, I'm going to give a shameless plug out to the FFA program,
Yeah.
because they've kind of been working on this in the ag sector for several
And
more
honestly,
years.
they've
maybe.
done a better job.
FFA,
with this, you know, then they've got the CDE, which is a career development event, which is district, state, and national. But, you know, they're more focused to ag mechanics,
And just for
welding
people
and,
that don't know,
you know, stuff.
FFA is Future Farmers of
Future
America.
Farmers of America, but they're in the high school
Level.
atmosphere.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, you know, it'd be nice if SkillsUSA and FFA could team up, because you're promoting welding, FFA's promoting welding. Why can't that be one competition all the way through the
when you
program?
talk about how do we get out of this place that we're in, Mike, I think that's one of the biggest things is and it's maybe a place that our program can start to help.
Centralizing
is
efforts.
Unifying some efforts,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's one thing we discussed when we first started talking about this. There's a lot of other stuff out there trying to, I mean, this is not a new problem, and more people are recognizing this problem. And, you know, Aaron Witt's got some stuff he's doing. Manufacturers got stuff they're doing. Vermeer comes to mind. Some schools and I know that, are pushing efforts more than others. SkillsUSA, us individuals, and everybody's a little bit helps. But to Chris's point, what we're talking about is the more we can combine efforts and get a louder voice,
Yeah,
Yeah.
better
the
off.
more difference we can make, and the more opportunities we can provide. Which is the ultimate goal, is to provide opportunities for people.
Because, I never heard of Skills FF, or Skills FF. Skills
He's
USA.
already renaming it.
Yeah. I've never heard of Skills USA, in our Perry Central. Never heard of it.
Something that my tech high school had that I don't know is common around you guys or not. We had co-op programs for work.
That's a
getting
good
more-
question.
That's getting more popular here.
Yeah. Well, I'm just thinking, even for you, or the two of you, really, like, if there is a heavy equipment operating program, if you could be on that list,
Yeah.
and then these kids actually see what it's like to go out and work, and then they can get paid.
So this goes full circle to what Jeff was saying about some of his stuff. Our local high school, I will give them credit, is pushing some more of this skills stuff, and they built a whole new building for it.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is funding based.
Yeah. Jasper Engines is out there. Wapaka's out there.
Yeah, it's funding based. They're not doing it because I feel like they want to. They're doing it because somebody's throwing money at it. You know what I mean? Which
And then some of
is
them
good, but we still got to change the mentality.
Some of them's out doing some internship. FFA has sent some internship kids out onto some farming operations. My niece, she goes to Jasper Hospital twice a week. Working she's wanting to look at the nursing career, so she's doing an internship in the hospital atmosphere while she's a senior in high school. So,
Which
Yes.
is awesome.
Yeah,
so-
that's basically what I had.
Yeah.
And it wasn't available to everybody. Like, I did have to test high enough in 11th grade to basically waive a couple classes. And I had to have a lot of things done in time in 11th grade to waive classes in 12th grade. But then when I was on the tech side of the rotation, I went to gym class in the morning, and then I went to work every day. And when I was on the academic rotation, I had a math class and an economics class, and I went to lunch, and then I went to work. So I was at high school like half of the time.
Yeah, I think another term used to describe this is internship.
internship.
No, I was paid.
These are paid too.
These are paid
They're
too,
paid
yeah.
too.
Oh, are they? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say, because we were paid.
Yeah, she
Yeah, I mean, we had to
gets
apply for
paid
the
also.
job and everything.
Yeah, if they're working, they're getting paid.
Yeah.
Well, you get the best of both worlds,
Oh, yeah.
education and experience.
And experience.
Our intern didn't get paid.
We should have a talk with him, Jeff.
Uh-oh.
Sorry, Charlie.
Charlie, man, you left
tell
money
you
on the
what.
table, bud.
No, but that was actually one of the kind of cool things to come out of it. We got very little resources to be doing what we're trying to do,
Right.
and so we got to find a way to make it work. And I just reached out to the state director and said, "Hey, what's the odds that there'd be a kid in one of these automotive programs that want to go racing with us this summer? I can't afford to pay him
Yeah.
or her, but I can make sure it doesn't cost them anything. We'll take care of all their expenses along the way and teach them as much as we can along the way." And so she reached out to one of her teachers, and took a couple days, and she called back and she said, "Yeah, I've got a teacher." And we started at the school that's kind of close to where our shop is, just knowing that kids,
Like logistics
yeah,
easy.
logistically,
Easy to
we're,
get picked up.
and she goes, "Hey, I think we've got a kid that'd be interested." And so reached out to the teacher, and he told me a little bit about this kid, and I met him. He was smart. He knew nothing about racing, although he's a racing family. His uncle was an IndyCar driver who unfortunately was killed at my second Indy Lights race.
Really? So you knew his uncle?
I knew his uncle, and for obvious reasons, his dad wasn't really wanting to hang around the racetrack anymore because he lost his brother in the sport, and his son has definitely got the heart and the passion for it. And so it was really neat to get to take Charlie racing this last summer, and he learned a ton. Always did a good job and had a good attitude.
Yeah, I was around him a few times. He was a good kid.
And we're pretty excited to hear that we get him back for a couple months next summer.
Really?
So his family one of those small world deals. His dad took a job at the Olympic Training Center, which is located in Colorado Springs, Colorado. So he went off to college in New Mexico. He's a hockey player too, so he was doing some D3 hockey at his school, and his family moved to Colorado Springs, but he'll be back in Indy for 2 months next summer, and he wants to go racing. And I'm proud to say he thought he wanted to be an endurance sports car guy.
And you turned him.
And we took him to some sprint car races, and he kind of got his hands dirty with it. And we were leaving a racetrack one night, and he goes, you know, Geoff, he goes, I think you've made me a sprint car racer. I don't know how I've made it through life this far without knowing what this was all about. So that was cool, getting to give him a little bit of an opportunity to come race and learn a little bit about what that's like, and that's really what it is. It's about wanting to help people identify opportunities within their interests and then be able to take advantage of those and have fulfillment in life.
Yeah, that's just like Jason and I's conversation, we are passionate about this. That's where the emotion comes from.
Yeah.
And in whatever path you take to get here, I don't care as long as you're doing what you want and you enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I just want more people to have the opportunity we have, because it is freaking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really cliche saying, which is, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. I don't know that I would necessarily 100% agree with that, but I can definitely tell you that you'll work a heck of a lot harder at what you love than what you don't.
Yeah.
And it won't feel like you're working any harder.
Amen.
Yep, absolutely. So, well, I don't know. I mean, our ultimate goal is to make a difference, and we're going to do it, I guess, the same way you eat an elephant, one bite
at a time. And as we now know, we've got a stadium full of people that are going to hear this. And
Thanks to Diamond Equipment.
And
no name sponsor we're still looking for. But,
Yeah.
But, if you're out there in the audience and you have a business that you're making the same complaints that we spent the first 20 minutes of this episode, and I would ask you this. I would say, what are you doing about it? And if you're not doing anything about it, reach out, get in touch with us. You can find us, or you can find Geoff Dodge Racing at geoffdodgeracing.com.
Tag that down below.
You can get in touch with Michael or Jason, any of these guys.
Well, we are a few points from perfect.
At Yahoo.com.
Yahoo.
Yep.
We would happily find a way that you
I
could
mean,
get
I don't
involved
think
in
we're
our
going to say
program.
no to anything without entertaining it. Whether it's a
No.
speaking engagement, appearance. I mean, I think we have opportunities to do some fundraising. I mean, obviously we have limited resources as well, so we can't jump on every request that comes our way. But if it's a legit way to make a difference in somebody's life or further the promotion of the trades, we are on board.
Yeah, we'll do what we can, and at the end of the day, like, we have to invest back into our industries and invest in our industry's futures. And it kind of gets to a place where, as a race team, we have to be somewhat cognizant of who our partners are and make sure that we're not crossing streams too much, because we are marketing at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll help you get plugged in if you want to.
And between the two of us, we do have some connections in this industry, so that don't hurt anything as well. So,
Dumb question. How did you get in contact with Skills and find all that out? Because I'd never thought to do that before hearing that you did it. No, I feel pretty terrible about it. The thought never crossed my mind.
It was a pretty difficult process. First, I had to sit down at my computer.
Yep.
And then I had to turn it on.
Okay.
And then I had to get to this website.
Oh, you lost me.
No, I Googled skilled trade gap nonprofit. And I just started going down and looking at all the results. I think SkillsUSA popped up as one of the first, obviously.
I guess so you basically went to the SkillsUSA
So then I
website?
picked up the phone and I went and I scrolled down, and I can't remember if they had to contact us or what, but I ultimately found the number for the corporate headquarters and called, and the lady that answered the phone, I said, hey, I got kind of a crazy idea. I want to help. You know, can you put me in touch with somebody here in Indiana? And she said, yep, here's the lady's name and number. Give her a call. So
And Kelly's good. She's just got the same problems we all do. She's got limited resources.
a lot on her plate.
So basically, somebody else listening to this could call SkillsUSA, say, hey, I got this crazy idea. I live in this state. Who do I talk to?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's basically what I need to do when I go
Yep.
home.
Yep.
Give you 2 crazy numbers from my trade. I just Googled.
Yeah,
Average age of the American farmer is 57 years old.
that's
Holy
concerning.
cow.
1/3 of them's 65 years and older.
So basically what
They
you're
retire
saying,
at like 90, right? We're good. We're still good,
Yeah,
right?
there's a lot of
Yeah,
American
you-
farmers getting ready to disappear.
Yeah. I could say the same thing for the place that I work at, is that we're going to lose, I think it's 43% of the workforce in the next 4 years.
Yeah.
That's terrifying. But,
well, I mean, it's a double-edged sword, right? So like right now, if you're coming into here and you hear that and you kind of as a business owner, you're like, whoo, shoot, that's not good. But as somebody that works in the industry,
Opportunity.
Guess what?
Name your
I'm-
price.
I'm not probably going to lose my job even if the economy slows down a bit or even if, you know, X, Y, or Z happens.
yeah.
You know, I do want to. All this is good. We need all this to move this forward. But by God, I want my doctor to have a 6-year college degree.
Oh,
though,
yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
You know?
100%.
The college is for some people. for sure.
There are irrefutably some positions out there that college is the only way to prepare you. So when I say go do what you love to do, and if you want to help people and the way that you want to help people is through medicine, like please do not come and work
Don't
on me.
shortcut it. Yeah, don't shortcut that.
But, you know, I guess the kid that I really want to encourage is the one that's like,
The one that feels left
yeah,
out.
man, like my dad, you know, he works in the finance business and he makes a pretty good living, and he said I can come work for him, and I got to go to school and get a finance degree and then go take my Series 7s, and then I can go to work with my dad. But I really have no interest in doing that. I'm just going to do it because that's the path that is kind of most visible in front of me. To say like, pump the brakes a little bit. Like you can make things happen elsewhere and
Right.
go the direction that makes that
And
fits
if your
interests
passion
and
is following your education, by 100% follow it. Like I encourage you, just like I'd encourage anybody else.
Be the best underwater basket weaver you can be.
That's so much better.
My dad was a union boilermaker, just like man behind the scenes. And I was not allowed to follow his footsteps. You know, that's not the trade he wanted me to follow. But
Yeah.
My dad
you know,
used
now
to
you got to figure out where is your career path now.
Well, Jeff, I appreciate everything you've done to help move this effort forward. I wish I could do more to help you. I just wish I had more time.
Well, Mike, you'll do
That's a
more.
terrible
We'll just keep slipping it a little at a time.
Yeah.
No, Mike,
When
in
I'm
all
doing those
honesty,
18-hour shifts, you need to be right there beside me. You can make
Farmer
time.
Chris, just because I'm not in the field don't mean I'm not working, buddy.
in all seriousness, Mike, it's been a pleasure getting to know you. Honestly, getting to make a friend,
Yeah.
probably above all else. But I appreciate all the help you've been, and you've got a platform and a voice that I don't have, and so I think it's a good partnership because we can kind of work off of
Yeah.
each other and.
Take both of our strengths and combine them into one effort.
You could donate the proceeds of Lieutenant Dan to
Oh,
SkillsUSA.
this guy again. This guy.
I bet Clint would even probably match.
I
it
tell you
25%.
what, you know what I would do? If somebody was willing to pay a ridiculous amount for Lieutenant Dan, I would donate it to a trade, something.
I will cut that out of this podcast.
I just get the determining factor for a ridiculous amount.
Oh dear Lord, there goes Lieutenant
We've
Dan.
made history here.
I mean, I know what I got in the truck, and it's gonna have to be more than that.
We're not selling Lieutenant Dan.
I don't know.
I
What do
mean,
you
if
think?
somebody wants that project to be gone by enough, they can buy that project gone.
I like this idea anymore. It was a
You
joke.
want to come up with it?
Let's just put a number on it.
I mean, I'm trying to call his bluff right now.
Let's put a number on it.
100 grand.
100 grand, Mike?
100 grand.
What does a new truck cost right about now? That'd be equivalent to
Well,
Lieutenant Dan's
you're
capabilities.
buying in Lieutenant Dan, where Lieutenant Dan is at right now.
That's one of a kind truck.
No, I understand that, but an off-road triaxle with that size bed.
I don't know if you could buy an off-road triaxle.
If somebody wants to ride a 100 grand truck, if somebody wants to write a check for 100 grand, I will sell that truck and I will donate it 100% to the trades.
Oh my God.
I'm
There you
serious.
have it. I mean,
And the parts in the shop to go with it.
And all the parts of the shop.
The red hood?
The red head, the green head, the gray head, all of them. Yeah.
everything he's got for Lieutenant Dan.
Everything with
100
Dan's
Gs.
got. And I will, if somebody pays 100 grand for it, I will donate it 100%. I've got 60 grand in the truck. So I'll be donating 60 grand out of my own pocket and somebody else will be ponying up 40.
I feel like they should match you. 120 for Lieutenant Grant, or for Lieutenant Dan.
So does a new engine for the skilled trade race program count?
I was thinking he'd go buy his own race car.
Oh, then we'll have that test track real quick.
No, the problem is I don't know if you'd be up and running for 100 grand. But we could have some thunder and horsepower in 9 to 12 months.
I'm trying to do good for the trades. He's over trying to go left.
Hey, I'm trying to be able to do more good for the trades in more places.
No, I'm
If I can, quickly. If I can,
I'm not going to get rid of Lieutenant Dan, which is a passion product just for the hell of it. But if I can do some good with it, I'll do it.
I don't like this conversation.
Hey,
You're the one that's
this
kept
is
poking
your
the bear.
fault.
I know. I won't feel bad. I mean, it's a damn good cause.
Yep.
But I kind of want to see Lieutenant Dan done.
Well, maybe you
selfish
will be
like
in somebody else's shop if I got 100 grand.
120.
We'll negotiate. It's my truck. I got the title.
Oh, I don't like this game.
well, I appreciate you guys having me down. we're gonna draw this to a close
Before we lose Lieutenant Dan.
Oh no, I mean,
Dan.
You ain't got no legs.
Oh wow, I got the sentimental there for just a minute.
Yeah. He's calling my bluff, but I know there's somebody out there that'll buy it.
Well,
well,
they're gonna write a check. It's gone.
I'm gonna sit back here and play referee and say 100 grand. Mike said what he said. And Jason, you kind of started it, so thank you for your contribution
the
to the
black-
trades.
Well, now I don't have to call SkillsUSA.
You know, you'd be the black sheep of the whole Dirt Perfect.
Yeah,
YouTube
everybody
channel.
wants to know what Lieutenant Dan's done. I'm gonna say, ask Jason.
I'm gonna say it went to a damn good
It's either
cause.
that, or I'm gonna say he's 3D printing baskets over in Ohio somewhere.
It went to a damn good cause. Jeff got a new engine.
No, that's not where the money's gonna go to as much as Jeff would like for it to go there. It'll legit go into a trade program. And it'll probably go into multiple trade programs if we do it. And Jeff will have a lot of say where it goes. But
We're gonna have fun with this. Now's when I come back to you, Jason, and I say, Jason,
Yes, Jeff.
so I have some control over where the 100 grand from Lieutenant Dan goes.
oh well,
What
boy.
what would you like to see it go to, and what can Michael and I see benefit from that for? I mean,
Well, I'll tell you that UTI has a heck of a hot rod program.
I think he's trying to convince you to let him buy a motor.
And I'm trying to help him get a motor.
No, it's no. We'll deal with that problem when we got it. But I'm dead serious.
I'm cutting this podcast.
No, you keep pushing.
Is this the
button.
last podcast of the season? We're just going to end the season with that. And that's
it
it right
might
there.
be.
There's a couple left, I
Well,
think.
you might need to hold one more episode for the season just in case somebody does buy Lieutenant Dan, so we can have the after show.
Ceremonial.
Yeah, the ceremonial
If
departure.
you want to buy Lieutenant Dan, send an email to thisisnotareal@yahoo.com.
This is not a read. No, it's a few points from perfect at yahoo.com, and it's Geoff Dodge Racing.
Jeff at JeffDodgeRacing.com, and that's GEOFF,
Not a J.
not a J. Yeah, I mean, I guess I skipped the real start of my racing indoctrination. It was before I had a name. I was born August 25th, '83. So it would have been, I don't remember how long after I was born, but I still didn't have a name, and my dad was watching a race on TV in the hospital, and my mom was trying to name me, and my dad wasn't paying very close attention, and my mom got mad, and so he kind of, I don't know if he was being snarky or serious, but a guy named Geoff Brabham, which is Geoff, happened to be leading the race he was watching, and he goes, well, how about Jeff with a G? And it was like, okay, fine. And so I was Jeff with a G because Geoff Brabham was leading a sports car race in August of 1983. The best part though was my roommate. His name's Jimmy Kite. He ran Indy cars and stuff, and they were doing a Legends Day deal at the Speedway in an autograph session. He got sat next to Geoff Brabham.
Really?
So they're sitting there, and Jimmy's signing autographs, and Jeff's signing autographs, and he looks over, he goes, you know, my roommate was named after you. And Brabham looks back and was just like, oh, man.
So, all right, we will wrap this one up. Jeff, appreciate everything you do.
Yep.
Jason and Chris for tagging along for the adventures.
Thanks for the
You
fans
have
for
managed
listening.
to get Lieutenant Dan officially for sale.
Lieutenant Dan's not for sale.
Yeah, Lieutenant Dan's for sale. You did this.
Well, that says
And
the
you're
guy who
catching
gets to
all the
edit this podcast.
You're catching all the backlash for it. So
Whatever.
Thanks everybody for watching, listening.
Yep.
Whatever podcasts they're on.
This was read the title.
yeah. Yeah, see you on the next one.